Hersam Acorn newspapers, publishers of the Greenwich Post, New Canaan Advertiser, the Darien Times, the Ridgefield Press, the Weston Forum, the Wilton Bulletin, the Reading Pilot, the Lewisboro Ledger, the Monroe Courier, the Eastern Courier, the Trumbull Times, Fairfield Sun, Shelton Herald, the Stratford Star, the Milford Mirror, and the Valley Gazette.
Hersam, Acorn, and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
You know, I made a promise not too long ago to Nora Tragany. She said, I want to see some headbanging to Trag. So I gave her some right there at the top of the show. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports, everyone. 2:02 on a Wednesday afternoon. We've reached the hump day of the work week here on HAN Radio and probably where you are as well. Tim Gaffney coming up in a little bit from Litchfield County Sports. We'll talk to him. Good to take a look at a part of the state we often don't talk about. So Tim will be coming up in a little bit, hoping for Dave Stewart in the latter part of the show, and we'll see if we can get Stewie on in a little bit as well. Dave, I know, is out at another awards ceremony over in New Canaan at Waveney Park, and we're certainly going back and recalling what we saw last night as well, and that's one of the reasons I want to have Dave on. So hopefully Dave will join us in a little while. So 2:03 just getting started here on the program, and 203-442-9055 would be the phone number for you to join us. So, you know, looking back at last night, and what a wonderful night it was, the annual recognition program for the FCAC, and we're very proud that we were mentioned right on the front cover of the program that they handed out, that we were one of the sponsors of the evening. And, you know, John Cookso and Mike King and all the good people involved really made us feel so welcome there last night. In fact, little inside secret for it, I didn't get invited to it until I think Monday night, and Dave Stewart actually reached out to me and said, I've got an idea. Why don't you come on over? And John Cookso said, my gosh, we would, you know, be pleased to have you there. So, you know, if you need a little pickup, that's a way to, you just got treated so remarkably well. But the people who really were the stars of the night were the athletes and certainly the coaches and the new inductees to the FCAC Hall of Fame. And what last night proved to me once again is that as great as the other conferences are, and I do think they're all great, I think what Al Carbone and the SEC have done has been remarkable. They have begun to challenge what goes on here in the southwest corner of the state. But, you know, if you're talking about the CCC or the SWC or the NVL or some of these other conferences, I mean, at the end of the day, what the FCAC has done since 1961 is pretty remarkable. And you look at the numbers, and they hand it out, and as they should. You know, everybody's got their little brag book that they hand out for their conferences, and they're all proud, and they should be. But I look at this list of championships, and I'm beyond stunned at how good it is. You know, you look at the number of championships, and you consider everything that goes on. 22 championships in the state, all across. Girls cross country was won by Wilton, field hockey by Darien. Darien got a girls volleyball title. Girls swimming, Greenwich and Darien both with wins. Football, you've got St. Joe's and New Canaan both with championships. A championship in Danbury and in boys indoor track. Girls, the cheerleading title was won by St. Joe's. Greenwich won the Double L swimming title. Oh, by the way, nothing new there. Darien, of course, won a scintillating all-FCAC boys hockey final, 1-0. That's still a bit of a head-scratcher to Eric Gendron and myself. Boys track was won by Ridgefield, girls track by Staples. Boys lacrosse, of course, all three for the second year in a row. Darien, New Canaan, St. Joe's, all three FCAC champions. Girls lacrosse, Darien and New Canaan. Boys tennis, New Canaan. Girls tennis, Darien. Boys volleyball was Ridgefield, and boys golf was Ridgefield. Those are just the CIAC champions that I'm reading off to you. And that's a lot of winning going on at the state level. Of course, the FCAC titles, and they're much maligned, of course, when you talk about football. Everybody else, it's fine, you can have your conference championship, no big deal. Boys cross country was Danbury. Girls cross country was Staples. Boys soccer was Ludlow. The girls soccer was split between Staples and Warden. I never liked that. I have to be honest with you. I don't like seeing co-champions. Field hockey, New Canaan. Girls volleyball, girls swimming. Football, all Darien. Boys indoor track was Danbury. Girls indoor track was Staples. Cheerleading was Fairfield Ludlow and the Stanford co-ed. Gymnastics was Darien, wrestling Danbury, girls basketball Ridgefield, boys basketball West Hill, boys swimming Greenwich, girls ice hockey, and boys ice hockey were both won by Darien. Darien was the school of the year. I don't think, it's be hard to argue how good the Darien Blue Wave were in every sport this year. Boys track Danbury, girls track Staples, softball was St. Joe's. We know baseball. We had it right here. It was the Wilton Warriors. Boys lacrosse and girls lacrosse, both won by Darien. Boys tennis Staples, girls tennis Ludlow, boys volleyball Darien, girls golf Greenwich, and boys golf New Canaan. And pretty remarkable, really is. Just up and down the dominance of the FCAC. Again, at the state level, 22 championships, and hard to just ignore how good they were. Coaches of the year, I want to make sure we give them the proper props. Rob Murray was the boys track coach of the year. Nick Fraticello in Danbury was the girls' track coach of the year. Tony Esposito of Stanford in softball. Tim Egan did just a great job with baseball and the Wilton Warriors, winning the FCAC title. Scott Bulkley in lacrosse in Greenwich. Chris Parisi at Fairfield Ludlow as well. Heather Loosley for Fairfield Ludlow for girls lacrosse. Rob Nooner for boys tennis. John Razor for girls tennis. Garrett Cavino for volleyball. Priscilla Schultz for girls golf, Dan Kleps as well. These are just some of the coaches of the year, and what a remarkable job they all did in one form or another. And a shout-out as well to someone we really like here on the program. That's John Daly, the head coach down at Fairfield Ludlow. Just has been so good to this program, that going back to basketball, but he was one of the coaches of the year as well. Just a really good guy, solid dude, and he's going to come back on this show again very soon. But I want to make sure we take a moment and talk about the Hall of Famers, because what a list. And it starts with Jeff Braymeyer, who the Darien head lacrosse coach, who's been doing it for 32 years with a mere record of 506, 129, and 10 state championships. He made the Hall of Fame. Now, obviously, he's in a ton of Hall of Fames already, and he's been on this show as well. A National Coach of the Year from the NILCA, Connecticut Lacrosse Hall of Fame, National Lacrosse Coach of the Year from the NHSACA. 32 years, done it a long time, 28 years of coaching football as well, 4 state championships, 3 FCAC championships. He was at Darien as a football coach when I first came around, and has obviously dominated lacrosse and just won his second straight state championship back on Saturday that we had via NFHS and CPTV and the CIAC, of course. Rick Lewis, who Marty Hersam actually knows from years of being around these parts. All FCAC and all state athlete at Greenwich High School, went on to UConn, was successful in both swimming and water polo, and moved on to begin coaching at West Hill High School in 1979. Over 450 swim meets won. Class Double L runner-up 4 times. Now you're going to say, okay, well, Class Double L runner-up, that's great. How about championships? When you're coaching in the same spot as Terry Lowe of Greenwich, runner-up is almost like winning a championship. Just how for whatever reason, Terry Lowe has just dominated, has had great athletes, has had just greatness from top to bottom. So, again, congratulations to Rick Lewis, and he belongs in the FCAC Hall of Fame. We'll talk more about some of the other Hall of Fame inductees from last night, because it's a class that, I guess as I get a little bit older and I get to do this a little bit longer, I know a lot of these people, or I know of a lot of these people. As I said, I've covered Jeff Braymeyer, and I've covered a few of these other folks as well, and one I can actually, not call a close friend, but certainly somebody that I know. So we will take some time and highlight each of them as we get a little deeper into the program. 2:11 here on Nutmeg Sports, and we're going to head off to the phone right now and bring on a guest. And very happy to talk to him. Glad he connected just the other day with us as we were kind of having a fun show on Monday with Sean Patrick Boley and Pete Paguaga and eventually Paul Silverfar. But Tim Gaffney is one of the key people up at Litchfield County Sports. You can find it online at litchfieldcountysports.com. He runs it. He's a terrific writer as well. I've been following him for a long time, and he's on the show now. Tim, how are you? I have to admit, Eric, I'm not hearing him. We'll see if we can get that. Do we have him up on the board by chance? Okay. All right. We'll figure it out. You know what? Why don't we snag a break then, Eric? We'll come back. We'll get Tim on the air. We'll continue on here. It's 2:12 on Nutmeg Sports on HANradio.com.
Breaks, sprains, injuries, and pain can now be quickly and expertly treated at Coastal Ortho Express in Norwalk. Why wait hours in the ER? Save a trip and save money going straight to an orthopedic specialist at Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, 203-845-2070. No appointment necessary. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or call 203-845-2070. Fast!
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332, and online at stratfordsmile.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Yeah, hey, this is John Ratzberger. You're listening to HANradio.com.
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports. It's 2:14. Sometimes it's always the simplest things. We just kind of take a deep breath, and then we throw phone calls right back on the air. Take two on Tim. Tim, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for joining us. Nice to talk with you. And first of all, tell me about Litchfield County Sports. How'd that come to be?
Well, I was a sports writer up here in the area since about 1999. Used to work for the Register Citizen. While I had a full-time job as a salesman for Frito-Lay, kind of got into doing the sports writing thing in the Torrington area. 6 or 7 years in, as most people know, a lot of the freelance work kind of dried up. I've got some terrific, friends in the business, guys like Rick Wilson, Pat Tisha, John Sforciello. We had a radio show in Torrington on WAPJ. And we got kind of concerned that, guys, we got no place to write. So we decided, it's one of those famous stories on the streets of Torrington on Water Street, we said, hey, we have to create something for our own. So you took three guys with literally not a whole bunch of technical skills, found a gentleman who knew a little bit more about websites than we did, and we started. We knew that, and I knew that I had terrific writers with me. It was a question of how do you put it into the format of a site? How do you make a living at it? How do you advertise on it? How do you do all that? Flash forward to 2 years ago. In August, I retired from Frito-Lay, and I now do this full guests into a great atmosphere like Applebee's, which is all about, sports and the rest of it. We do shows at different restaurants and bars that want to have us in with different themes and the rest of it. So I do go on as much as I can on WAPJ, because that's where this thing all started. I remember when I started doing our show, I think it was 7 years ago. Rob, I was so nervous for the first half hour. I think I wrote the whole show. You know what I mean? Because you're on radio all of a sudden, and it's like, I hope I can fill a half hour. Now we don't say hello in a half hour.
Oh, it's without a doubt. And, I love knowing that there's still an element of local radio from all the years I was down at GCH in Greenwich, and I hated seeing how the high school sports scene would start to dry up on the terrestrial side. So I'm always glad to hear that there are certain terrestrial radio stations. And, of course, now with the world, with the web as well, all of that makes delivering high school sports more, it's more in the norm now to get it back out there, and it's just a great thing.
And like with what you guys do, I mean, it's a great thing that you guys do for your community and to get the word out of the positive that's going on. One of the articles I sent you a little while ago is we last Thursday we held the first annual all Litchfield County Sports Torrington High School team banquet. We honored 42 different kids. I asked the coaches from the fall, winter, and spring sports to nominate 2 kids who were not only student athletes, that being the key, but also good kids in the community. So they wouldn't necessarily be the stud star, but they just met that criteria. Had over 110 people at the banquet with the parents. The mayor of Torrington, state representative came and gave the kids certificates because you remember back in the day, and I remember back in my day, boy, if your name was in the paper or if you got something from somebody, you're going to remember it. So for these kids, I think I even forgot how much of a thrill it is to be recognized by figures like the mayor of your city and the rest of it. And we just had an absolute blast. And it's something that we'll do every year, and we have more schools up here that are expressing an interest in it because it was funny. I watch sometimes when you have the either all NDL or all copper or all iron up here in this area, and it's like almost everybody gets a medal. It's like there's 4 kids. There's only 4 kids that didn't get a medal, and I'm like, come on, guys, we have to make it a little bit more special, for people to be recognized. And as you know, from a couple of years back, Torrington took some hits, with some bad things that went on at the school by young people. It was not by football players, and that's one of the things that really got our hair up. Is that every time you heard something, it was football player accused of this. And I always said, Rob, well, if it was the clarinet player, are we going to put clarinet in front of every time we mention that this kid did something wrong? It was knucklehead kids that are going to pay for it for the rest of their lives. I mean, but it had nothing to do with athletics. So I think we try to stress more about what's going on at a pretty big L school here, in Torrington. I live in Torrington. I'm around these people all the time. A lot of the coaches and the parents are friends of mine, and we try to accentuate what's going on positive in the neighborhood as opposed to the lazy end of it, which is just putting out there what's bad.
Yeah, exactly. Tim, you mentioned the UConn coverage, and you mentioned some of the high schools. Give me a wider view of what you cover. I know you've got Thomaston. You watched the softball team as they lost to Holy Cross. Give me a feel for what your reach is.
Well, and I think part of what the beauty of what we have done is I don't want to be like anybody else.
Right.
Not traditional on what I used to do, with newspapers. I mean, we had a local priest who did a bike ride to Baltimore at a local school where almost every athlete in Torrington probably went when they were in grammar school.
Yeah.
So Father Jim Sullivan took off right after Matt Lauer had done his 250. Father Sullivan did 360. I'm like, come on, Matt, pick it up a little. So those kind of community stories where the mayor of our city rode, the high school basketball coach, girls basketball coach, Mike Fritz Sr., who, by the way, is going to be inducted into the Connecticut Sports High School Coaches Hall of Fame up at Rensselaer Field, in September. So we try to tell more of the behind-the-scenes stories about the people that are making things happen. Sure, I'm at the championship games. Sure, we're at the big games and the rest of it, and we keep the coverage up. But we're trying to tell more of the stories of the people that make it happen. You have to be diverse, like and for a media company right now, which we do both the web, we're on location. We have a television show on Cable 5 that's I think this coming. Actually, a good friend that I think is listening right now, Mr. Pagagua. He's going to come up on June 29th to be on a local cable access show that we do with Mike DeMauro from the New London Days. So we try to branch out and kind of do as much as we can in a lot of different things so that we become the media outlet in the Northwest corner.
That's great. And, we're trying to do the same thing here in the Southwest corner. But I think, like you, we're trying to not forget about the rest of the region. Forget it. We're not trying to forget the rest of the state. And I love being able to see some of these other teams from different parts of the state and teams that I've never seen before. Doing baseball that was Rocky Hill and Haddam Killingworth last year. That was fun. It was fun to see something different, but again, focusing on what you would consider to be your home area, it's really cool stuff, and I know that you appreciate that, and hopefully Pete behaves himself when he comes up next week.
We would never expect him to do so. So we'll expect him to be just what he was. Talk about a kid that made a difference when he came up here to Torrington with the Register Synod, and his energy level was huge. We're just sorry to see him leave. I mean, because he really did, a good job in the area. And you know what? Nowadays, it's not the cutthroat, I can't talk to you, you can't talk to me, stop it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
It's guys trying to make a living. It's guys there's no scoops anymore. I mean, please.
You're right. You are entirely right. And I was saying that last night at the FCAC Hall of Fame banquet that I went to, and how, we're since I've been around it, I feel like we've all tried to become somewhat friendly. There are the little rivalries, and there are the guys that are a little sketchy toward you, but overall, all these people, to me, I like building that kind of database so that I can have a Tim Gaffney come on Nutmeg Sports, or, a Scott Erickson, and some of these other guys that I've gotten to know over time. I just think we're all trying to get the same job done.
And, it's not I think the other way around was so it's antiquated now with the web and the rest of it, that so much is out there. And I mean, a perfect example is when you are down, at Tampa with the Final Four with the women. Really, there's a scoop. You got 12 hours of interviewing Gino and asking him the same question, every single person. There's no scoop coming out everywhere. So you meet, a lot of good people going through there. And, another part of what we try to do here, like you do there, we try to follow kids from our area that go on to play, at the next level. We followed Jordan Williams when he actually went down to New Jersey Nets camp. The Nets invited us down, brought us down to a game. We're in the locker room with him. We've got a couple of kids up here now. Mike Oldenwalder from Wamovo was just drafted by Baltimore. We've got a kid, Connor Bierfeld, who, both of these names Pete knows well. I can't wait till both of those kids are at Camden Yards. That's a road trip. We're going.
Oh, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all, and it's too bad I haven't seen more of that in person. We down here we've got Max Pacioretty up at Montreal, who's from New Canaan. Yep. We have the one guy I've been able to go see is Cam Atkinson from the Blue Jackets. I actually did some of his games when he played at Greenwich before he moved on to prep school. I called every game that John Sullivan played in before he went to the Vikings. I haven't been able to go see John in person, but he's come on the show. So for you guys to be able to go do that and cover these guys when they leave the area, that's really cool stuff.
When in 2006, Steven Strasburg came up here to play summer baseball for what was then the Torrington Twisters. Right. And at the time, I was just freelancing. They needed somebody to cover the beat. I'm like, why not? Go cover some local baseball. And so I covered Strasburg for a summer. And the thing about Strasburg was that that's a kid that came from San Diego High School to San Diego State and had never been anywhere in his life, and they ship him over to the East Coast to play summer baseball. Strasburg wanted to run home so fast it wasn't even funny. Stayed with a nice family up in Avon, friends of ours, who and he was the hardest working kid on the field. First in, first out. He was not the natural, as you would think Bryce Harper was. Strasburg had to work for what he had. But I'll tell you what, he paid back his family, too. When he got married, he had his host family go out to San Diego and to his wedding. And when he pitched his first game for the Nationals, he had them in the presidential suite. So, a kid that, for us was kind of fun to cover, a kid that always remembered who you were, coming back to the when he came back and played with Team USA and the rest of it. So that's been the fun stuff for us, is being able to, especially because, now that I do this, full time, there's so much to do, and it really, really fills my day with a lot of joy when you get to talk sports, you get to write sports, and, I always say in air quotes, this is work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. The opportunity to go put a headset on and talk. I mean, big deal. I've got to set up some equipment, run a few cables, and then I get to talk about a sporting event. I get to do the play-by-play of it for a couple of hours. I'll take that work. It's not a bad gig.
It really isn't. Like you said, I mean, yeah, we do our own work. I got my own speakers. I got my own. We have everything that we go do, and people are like, "Well, who's with you?" I'm like, guys, it's not that. Just go set it up, and then you go. Talk to the folks out there. So it's it's a lot of fun, and I truly appreciate you guys, reaching out, because I agree it's the same thing. The more that everybody kind of has an idea of, what's going on around the state, it goes for a better story. And I am truly convinced that sites like ours are the future of freelance writing, because first of all, your areas, no matter where you are, they're going to read it. They're going to listen to it.
Yeah.
So there's value behind it for advertisers. And that's where the sticking point was for so many guys. Well, hey, make a living at it. Well, you have to prove your product is good, and you have to prove that you can give results. And what we know about online advertising, it's so much easier to track than anything else is. So it's a lot of fun for a salesman. Come on, I was a salesman for Frito-Lay. Rob, did anybody ever try to sell you a bag of Doritos? I don't think so, right?
No.
No guy came up and said, "Buddy, I can get these for you 2 for $5." No, it was all set. But what I could do was develop relationships all throughout this area, by the stores that I would go into. And, running 2 things at once, 50 hours at one and 40 hours at another, was never easy. But if you want to get to where your dream is going to be, you have to kind of do both of those things at the same time. And for us, it paid off. I got to hustle every day to make sure that it, stays up and stays fresh. But just like you, it's a lot of fun.
You just mentioned an interesting thing, to go for the dream. What's the dream with Litchfield County Sports? What do you want to see this become?
Well, I think on the path that it is a funny story that when I went to the dinner we had last week was inspired by something that I did in 2007 after Coach Tony Torina and the Torrington Red Raiders had won a state championship. I went to the mayor of Torrington. I think I was still just working for the Reds. So I said, look, let's honor these kids. Let's take them to Cole Park, which is, a facility in Torrington. Let's give them a pin from the mayor. Let's give them a little certificate, and they'll be happy as clams. We did it with a bunch of different teams, and they were. The guy in the front row, his name was Michael Colangelo, was at the time on the city council in Torrington. And hands me his card, says congratulations, and I think thank you. And I flip it over, and it says ESPN 360 executive producer. He says, call me. He said, to me, he says, you need to make LitchfieldCountySports.com a mini ESPN. Not pro, because we never wanted to talk about pro, because no one actually cares I'm a Mets fan, because they just feel bad for me. But that market is very well saturated, so there's nothing there. But the high school scene and the behind-the-scenes stuff was still it was still not tapped. So, I always remember I would be sitting in my Frito-Lay truck outside of a deli in Torrington, and me and Colangelo would talk maybe once a week, and I would try to keep up with maybe 10% of the stuff that this guy was spewing, because his job with ESPN is to think 5 years ahead of everyone else. When you watch ESPN Baseball Tonight,
right,
when you see it from Florida, that's Colangelo. He is the background of that. He actually brought Rick Wilson and I down to those studios to do our radio program live back to Torrington one summer, just because.
That's great.
He said, well, whenever you guys want to, come on down here and use our studio. We were in Lou Holtz's studio, and I mean, we took the red eye down, and we were dying on a Saturday morning, but we talked sports for an hour. And for us, it's not a tough thing. So, to answer the dream question, the dream is to make it so that, I can get it to the point in which I can work some really talented writers more. I have a couple of guys that are just freelance, but most guys, they've got a full-time job, and they just do this on the side. I own HartfordCountySports.com and NewHavenCountySports.com, the rights to those for a couple of years. Who knows where it goes?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because all I know is that there are tons of guys that want to work. I don't know if you know the name Jerry DeSimus.
Mm-hmm.
He does Connecticut wrestling online out of Avon, and he'll get 10,000 hits a night when it's tournament time in wrestling, because everybody in the entire state throws everything to Jerry. But there was no real advertising behind it. You didn't want to sell anything. So, or sometimes it's just not that, it's not easy. But those are the kind of great writers that I just want, to be able to write more, just so that we are the site where everybody kind of goes to, like I said, not for the score, because it's on Twitter and Facebook a moment after it happened.
Yeah.
But sometimes for the behind-the-scenes stuff, is what we're looking to continue doing.
It's something we've had to consider as well as a newspaper company that certainly has websites, but we've got Twitter accounts and we're weekly newspapers to begin with. So I agree with you, Tim. You have to look a little bit beyond the scores and the game recaps and get into some of the features and talk about people. So it's really it's an evolution for all of us.
It really is. And I think we've been around since 2009, and we've kind of crawled in the beginning to make sure everything, just to get everything done that you want to get done. And, I think we were ahead of the curve when it started. So as people are starting to maybe look at it a little bit more, we're becoming well enough known, like you. And I think the way that you look at other people is, I worry about no one. I worry about me. Because as soon as I worry about what somebody else is doing, I'm taking the eye off the ball of what I should be doing.
Yeah.
There's bigger news. I mean, the Waterbury Republican is huge. Am I competing with the Waterbury Republican or vice versa? No. I do freelance work for them. They love stuff that I give them and the rest of it. So I always look at the fact you have to compete with yourself, and then you can't worry about what everybody else is doing.
Sounds like you're just having a ball up there. I was reading the story about covering the Thomaston team and softball, and it's great stuff, Tim. And I'm glad we've finally connected, voice to voice at least. And I hope we do some more again in the future.
Absolutely. Anytime you need anything, that's what we do. So be happy, and good luck to you guys. Keep up the great work that you're doing, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Tim.
Take care.
All right, you too. Tim Gaffney from Litchfield County Sports. This guy I've certainly followed in one form or another, on social media and such, and he's done an outstanding job covering that part of the state. The website's terrific if you get a chance to take a look at it, litchfieldcountysports.com. And as he said, he's not trying to compete with HAN, for instance. We're not trying to compete with him. So there's a niche market where, Tim and his team can do their thing, and down here we're doing our thing, and we can kind of meet in the middle, and everybody can make it all work, and it's pretty cool stuff. It really is fun to watch how we're evolving, whether it be the online stuff that we're doing or what the folks are still doing on the writing side. And I don't personally, a brief moment on the soapbox, I don't dismiss the writing that still goes on in this company that gets the printed word on paper, because the newspapers still matter to me. So if it's Eric Gendron, who's running the controls today, still writing for the New Canaan Advertiser, or his former boss down in Darien, old what's-her-name there. I mean, these people do great work. Susan Schultz, of course. These people all do great work, so I still believe in the newspapers, even though we've got the audio and now the video and the websites. And it's okay, I'll climb off my soapbox. 2:36, out for a break. We're going to come back, and we've got a little something special for you, a little video prepared by one of our interns who actually was a student at New Canaan High School as well. It's a fun video. I had a chance to look at it before. You're going to see it when we come back on Nutmeg Sports on HANradio.com and streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network.
The long winter is finally astern. Bait is invading the harbors, coves, and inlets. Stripers, fluke, and porgies are on the move.
Magnus, right?
In the streams and lakes, trout, smallmouth, largemouth, and walleye have moved out of hibernation. At the dock shop, it's all systems go. And now in two locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, and their newest location at 609 Riverside Avenue in Westport. Bait, tackle, apparel, and of course, all the marine and nautical accessories that they're known for are ready for you at the dock shop. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Did you know that taking dance lessons is a great date night idea? Arthur Murray Grand Ballroom of Greenwich is a fabulous place to learn to dance and meet new people. Located at 6 Lewis Street, our studio is staffed with professional instructors, ready to teach you salsa, waltz, rumba, hustle, tango. There's a dance for every season. And we are rated #1 on the Knot.com. We are the wedding dance specialists. Take advantage of our new student offer, only $49. Call 203-769-1800. Visit us online at arthurmurraygreenwich.com.
Does advertising on HANradio.com work? Just ask Coastal Orthopedics. They ran spots with us, and within 24 hours they had 21 walk-ins and 8 calls to their new immediate care center. To advertise on HANradio.com, call 203-417-5199 and ask for Marianne Hersam.
You're listening to Hersam Acorn Radio.
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports, 2:38 Wednesday afternoon. Hard to believe we are past the midway point of June. It's June 17th, 2015. I'm Rob Adams. Flying solo today, having a good time. We'll get Bill Blocks and Mike Suppy back involved again. Eric Gendron can always stop by. You know, we've got so many talented people here in this company that are perfectly capable of jumping on the air with me, and it's always fun to have all of them. We had John Kovach on earlier in the week. John had to run out today, so we'll get more folks back involved so you don't have to just listen to my voice. One thing I am thinking about doing, by the way, and it's going to take a little work, and I might even try to work with Eric on this, but an idea that I had off of Sean Patrick Bowley's idea that he had, that he ranked the top 25 moments of the weekend. I'm thinking about doing a top 25 of the school year. And I think there's something to that. Now, we don't have video of all of the moments. And some of the moments, we have pretty much audio. So what it would be the top 25 things that we've seen or heard here on HANradio.com and via the Hersam Acorn Network. And you can imagine some of the things off the top of your head. Certainly, you go back to late last year in the Turkey Bowl game. And so I started to kind of put the list together in my brain, and how would I rank it, and what would be number one, and what would be number, and on and on. So there's some potential to that, and I hope we're able to put that together. So want to bring you a video, though, and this is fun stuff. Gunnar Magnus was one of our interns, and we had a great group. I miss these guys already because they were all so good, and hopefully some of them are still going to come back and visit us over the summer. But admittedly, once some of the guys finish their official internship for high school, they don't feel like getting up and driving to Shelton from Darien or wherever. But we're grateful to Florian and Alex Hager and Gunnar and Steven and Leah and on and on and on. You know, Leah still, I keep telling her to stay out of the way of, you know, those errant flying baseballs that she almost got hit with at Harbor Yard. But you get the idea. A lot of good people, all of which I can't possibly even begin to name. But Gunnar was, and Joe Mixie and others. And, in fact, I just got all the names here from Eric. Dylan, Steven, Joe, Leah, Alex, Stephen Barston, Grant, Florian, Grady, Devin, and Tate. All great, and I don't mean to rhyme. But Gunnar put together this pretty cool video, and he went to New Canaan High School, graduating tomorrow. He's going to go to Mizzou, and Missouri has a very good journalism communications program. Matt Hamilton, who's been on this show before, went to Greenwich High School, good friend of mine and one of my very first interns in this business. We're talking about a decade ago now. He went to Mizzou for broadcasting, actually wound up as a student, not a student assistant coach, but on the sideline, basically as a student assistant, which was really cool. You'd spot him on ABC during college football, during Mizzou games. It was really fun to watch. And he has parlayed that into doing some stuff with the Detroit Lions as well as at NFL Films, and he knows he's always got an open door to come visit this studio as well, and he's been on the show, as I said. And Danny and George, I forgot to mention them as well, meaning good guys anyway. But as for Gunnar, let's get to this video. This is kind of fun. He put this video together, kind of a farewell to what he did down at New Canaan High School. And I know Mario and Eric are going to cue it up for me. I'll give them a count in. Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, NCHS. Here at NCTV, we decided to dig through our entire game footage archive to create a list of the top 5 best plays of the year. Time is short, everyone, so let's get right into it. I'm Gunnar Magnus, here to deliver you your hot and ready highlights from this year. For the first time ever, this is your NC Top 5. Coming in hot at number 5 is girls field hockey with the late game goal by Ellery Barron to send the team to FCAC finals. Up next at number 4, you all remember this one. Collins to Krause.
All right, so one thing for our radio
wheels,
listeners, we didn't get the audio over to the radio side, so it's running on our YouTube stream on the video. And what it is Gunnar going through the top 5 plays. And let's face it, we're in an era that loves countdowns. So right now he's showing the Michael Collins to Alex LaPolice game-winning touchdown to the state championship. And of course, it's a New Canaan video, and you can imagine what a big moment that was. And the last one here is a Patrick Homp game winner in overtime against, I believe, Notre Dame of West Haven, the Green Knights. So just a guess on looking at the uniforms. I know that was a big win for New Canaan at the time. But if you get to watch it, and certainly when you watch it over on our web stream, it's fun stuff. We'll put it up on the website for you, and good times there. So thanks to Gunnar. So great. Up and down the line, that whole crew. Such good guys, and I hope they come back. I hope we get, Max Barefoot has come back from, he's down in Virginia going to school at James Madison, and some of these other guys. Hopefully we'll see them more as the summer goes along. Speaking of interns and intern alumni, which, believe it or not, at this point we have built a little reservoir of former interns here. Our buddy Tom Prizeman, who was with us all last summer, of course, and even came back and visited in the winter. He will not be visiting this summer, and we'll get him on the show later on because he has become the play-by-play voice of the Florence Freedom, an independent league baseball team out in Kentucky, so right outside of Cincinnati. So he will be on with us, and besides, he owes one of us on this broadcast some favors for a good recommendation to the team, shall we say. But I'm trying to hit him up for T-shirts and hats and stuff. Anyway, let's jump back into the other side. I want to continue here on the Hall of Fame inductions before we take another break. And I'm still hoping we get Dave Stewart. I keep glancing at my phone to see if he's got some time to join us, but nothing yet. Hopefully he can join us in a little bit. He's down at another award ceremony trying to cover that as well. I mentioned Jeff Brameyer. I mentioned Rick Lewis. I want to get to Bobby Augustine. Bobby Augustine, who I first got to know as coach of the Stanford Black Knights in baseball, he also helped run the booth. Leon Javen, the legendary longtime play-by-play voice at Stanford High School at Boyle Stadium, and Bobby was right there working alongside of him all the time. In fact, Bobby took time to remember Mr. Javen in his acceptance speech last night. But they write here in the program that Stanford native Bobby Augustine has lived and breathed sports his whole life, and he really has. John Cookso really had one of the more poignant moments of the night for us when he produced, after Bobby made his speech, he produced a blanket that was given to John Cookso's dad, and it was a gift from the FCAC in regard to his many years, Mr. Cookso's father, many years as a coach, and really, he was Mr. Stanford. And what John Cookso told the crowd last night is that Bobby has become Mr. Stanford Athletics. And to me, he has. Bobby Valentine, probably the greatest athlete in Stanford history. Certainly the Robustellis, Andy Robustelli, guys who have been outstanding Stanford athletes. But to me, and Bobby Augustine said this, he wasn't the greatest coach, he wasn't the greatest athlete. No, but he was one of. Bobby Augustine, if he's not the greatest athlete, he's probably number 2, 3, 4 at worst. Great baseball player, great football player. He joked last night about making the greatest catch in Stanford history, which I'm told was a pretty phenomenal catch in the FCAC championship game, I believe, in 1970. Did win an FCAC title in 1970 as well as a state championship. Selected first-team All-County as a second baseman for baseball. Played at Central Connecticut State, playing football there. Became a phys ed teacher. Now he says his pride and joy is being a guidance counselor. And he is, by his own words, a heck of a guidance counselor. But Bobby's a heck of a man, and he's always been very, very good. Certainly good to me as a broadcaster. I can remember, and very few coaches ever do this in my career. And, my career is starting to number in a few years as well. We, back when I was at WGCH and we did radio baseball games, we'd tape delay them, but we would still air virtually every Greenwich baseball game. We did a game at Stanford High at Boyle Stadium, and that's not the most broadcast-friendly facility for baseball. Football place is great. I love doing games in the football stadium, but baseball, not as easy. Anyway, we were able to set up. Bobby had a player of his run down to us, and we were down. His dugout was on the third baseline. He had a player come running down to us on the first baseline in foul territory every time Bobby and the Black Knights would make a move. So if there was a pitching change, if there was a defensive change, a pinch hitter, here would come a player from his team down to tell us, the broadcasters, who mean nothing in all the grand scheme of things. Bobby just knew how to do it. Bobby knows how to take care of people, and he is a remarkable guy, really is. I was very happy for Bobby Augustine, and the receiving of that blanket from John Cookso. To me, that was passing on a tradition. As Mr. Cookso told us after the affair was over, we were gathered with him chatting for a bit afterwards, and he said, that blanket just seemed to fit with Bobby. It belongs with him. He is Mr. Stanford Sports, and he certainly deserves that honor. 2:48 here on Nutmeg Sports. A couple others I want to get to, and then we'll take a break as we begin to wrap this broadcast up. Jackie Ann Swaim DiNardo has been really a big part of Danbury sports since 1984. A teacher and a guidance counselor, but a girls basketball coach at the varsity level, as well as a volleyball coach. 460 wins in 28 seasons, an undefeated season in girls and boys basketball, named Coach of the Year by a wide variety of organizations. But more than all of that, now, there's a lot of depth to this lady. A member of the Texas Hall of Fame for women's basketball as a player, played at the University of Texas, on the U.S. Pan American Olympic basketball team, won gold medals in the Taiwan, Korea, and Russian games, a finalist for the Olympic team, and when you can get up at a banquet in Fairfield County, Connecticut, and in your acceptance speech say that among your role models as a coach and as a person is none other than Pat Summitt, who she played for, I have all the respect in the world for Pat Summitt. I always have, and I know I'm like waiting for lightning bolts to hit me here in the state of Connecticut, because in Connecticut you're not supposed to talk nice about Pat Summitt. But I have always admired Pat Summitt and what she has done, obviously at Tennessee for all those years, and then what she's done in other parts with the Olympics and so on. So a really remarkable person. And when you're Jackie DiNardo and you can make that announcement, Jackie's speech was very nice and certainly an honor well deserved. Other Hall of Famers, Gus Lundeen, the current athletic director at Greenwich High School, was an athletic director at Fairfield High School, not to mention a football coach. For me, that's a little more personal because I've been around Greenwich High School since 1999, when Garland Allen was the athletic director, then Jim DiCarlo, and eventually Jim moved on and in came Gus. Gus has been there for about 11 years now, and he joined Greenwich, in fact, in 2005, has helped increase the program, Greenwich High School, in total, to over 100 sports teams with 1,500 student athletes. Throughout his tenure, and I'm reading from the program, Greenwich has won an astounding 82 divisional titles, 48 conference championships, 56 state championships, with many of his teams being the strongest in the country, and that is without a doubt. I mean, Gus Lundeen has done a heck of a job down at Greenwich High School, and again, a guy who's always been nice to me, and certainly a nice honor for him. And then the last name I want to throw out is the guy who I probably know the best in the list. And I began covering, as I mentioned, I began covering high school football and high school sports in the late 90s and early 2000s. I saw the Staples records, and I mentioned this on Coffee Break earlier, when what I thought was one of their real highlight games, and that was beating Greenwich in 2014-8. I thought that was a win that gave Staples the boost they needed to become the dominant program that they have since become. And Mars Petrosio has been their head coach for a long, long time. He was a tight end and defensive end for Trumbull High School, had a perfect 11-0 senior campaign, went on to play at Southern Connecticut, got a degree in phys ed, coached at Western Connecticut, which happens to be my alma mater, also at Cheshire High, then joined Staples High as head coach and a phys ed teacher, 22 years at Staples, 192 and 60, and they have been ranked number one so many times throughout the past decade. He has won numerous awards: USA Today Coach of the Year, the Lou Rotino High School Football Coach of the Year, FCAC Coach of the Year 4 times. Also inducted into the Connecticut High School Coaches Association Hall of Fame. And I didn't really know Mars for the first several years that he was at Staples. You know, in passing, you'd know a guy a little bit. But a mutual friend, Jason Intrieri, who has come on with me many times. He's been a fellow broadcaster of mine and wasn't a guy that wasn't necessarily interested in broadcasting, but he started doing a TV show at Staples. And his coach's show, he had me on it one time with Mars Petrosio. And Mars and I seemed to bond that day, and I have known him ever since. And again, I don't know him too well, but there are some coaches that, as I think I've alluded to as I've done this for years, when I get to a game, I'm in setup mode, and I'm plugging this in and plugging that in and power for this and power for that. Set up this mixer. Do the microphones work? I don't always have the time to get to the field, but I promise you this. Whenever Mars is there, he is the one coach, and I'm getting to know more coaches as time goes by. My point is, I always make a point of going and seeing Mars because Mars will always take a moment to say hello, give you a hug, ask how your son is doing. I ask about his kids. Mars is a good guy. And I understand, for all the years at Greenwich, maybe I wasn't supposed to be so nice to somebody from Staples. They've become such great rivals over the years, but I have great regard for Mars Petrosio and I didn't even get a chance to say hello to him last night, but a great guy who will come on the show again, I know, and just somebody I'm very happy for. Two other things from this banquet from last night: the Rosemarie Carlucci Scholarship Award. Ro Carlucci was a teacher at West Hill and a coach of field hockey, gymnastics, and girls tennis. Everyone loved her beyond so many ways. The consummate counselor and friend for everyone she touched. Lost her far too soon, and they have a scholarship to epitomize the ideals of Ro Carlucci. The winners were Ashley Offiero, a double varsity sport athlete and a 3.7 GPA student. Ashley is a force to be reckoned with at Fairfield Ward. Tremendous active member of the community, field hockey and tennis. She was captain for the 2015 season and a scholar athlete, and she's going to play at Loyola University in Maryland, the Greyhounds, in the fall. So hopes to study elementary and special education. So congratulations to Ashley Offiero. And Kayla Gill, a Trumbull gymnast, captain of the Trumbull High gymnastic team in her junior and senior years. Dedicated athlete as well, competing both for her school and an outside team, works hard to do her personal best, finished second at the FCAC Gymnastic Championships, posted a career high, works 2 after-school jobs, volunteers within the community. These both seemed like remarkable young women. Congratulations to both of them, and certainly all the best to them. Some of the other coaches that we didn't get to mention, coaches of the year, I read you all the spring ones. In the winter, the coaches of the year were Robert Murray of Danbury Boys Indoor Track, John Getz of Ridgefield Girls Indoor Track, Joanne Tarzicki of Danbury Cheerleading, Jim DiCarlo, West Hill Gymnastics, Eddie Santiago, Harding Wrestling, John Daly, we mentioned, the Fairfield Ludlow Boys Basketball coach, Kim Palmer, New Canaan Girls Basketball. Bob Russell did such a great job with the Greenwich Cardinals. I got to speak with Coach Russell for a moment, and certainly there's still a little tinge of wish we could have finished the job in both the FCAC and the state championship. But as I told Coach Russell, I've covered Greenwich hockey since the late 90s. It's arguably the best team I've ever seen. Jamie Tropsa of Darien, who's been on the show, girls ice hockey head coach. What a remarkable team they have there. Paul Jalbert of Fairfield girls ice hockey as well, and Chris Passamano, the Norwalk boys swimming coach. Those were the coaches of the year in the FCAC. Also in the fall, it was Robert Murray of Danbury for cross country, Amanda Morgan of Staples for girls cross country, Kevin D'Angelo of West Hill field hockey, Megan Skelton of Fairfield Ludlow for girls volleyball, Kevin O'Hara for Fairfield Ludlow boys soccer, Dave Flower, West Hill girls soccer, Marge Trafone for Darien girls swimming, and a terrific choice to give it to AJ Albano for Brian McMahon and that football team that who knew what that McMahon football team was going to be. No, they didn't make the FCAC championship, but that was a great year. And I talked with his dad last night, the great George Albano, and he said, when we first started the year, we didn't know. So, you know what? I think it's the kind of thing where you kind of smile and say, all right, Pretty cool. Good year there. And a great night, and I'm so grateful to have been invited there last night. I had a really good time. I got to take one more time out before I come back and wrap up the show. It's 2:53. We're out for a break. We'll come back and say goodbye after this on HANradio.com, streaming live on the Hersam Acorn Network.
Located in the heart of picturesque downtown Ridgefield at 13 Governor Street, Colby's is the area's premier retailer for blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies, and is one of the select few Hunter Douglas Gallery dealers. A family-owned and operated company, Colby's experienced staff will work with you in choosing the best treatments for your home or office and offer free measuring and expert installation. Colby's also carries an extensive line of decorative fabrics including Schumacher, Durley, Tebow, and more. Or browse over 400 books in our wallpaper library from famous designers such as Stroheim, Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, Tebow, and York. Take advantage of our Fashion in Motion savings event with savings and rebates on Hunter Douglas shades with PowerRise technology. Colby's of Ridgefield. We are committed to your complete satisfaction. 203-438-8531.
It's Lots of Characters, specializing in children's birthday parties with your child's favorite characters. When you want to party hardy, when you need to celebrate, call us, we won't be late. We help create lasting memories for you and your child on their special day. Call us at 203-590-1791 or visit our website at lotsofcharacters.org for more information and to see our party packages. Lots of Characters, 203-590-1791 or online at lotsofcharacters.org.
It's grilling season, and Walter Stewart's Market is your local destination for the finest grill-ready certified Angus beef strip steaks, skirt steaks, 100% grass-fed ribeyes, all-natural pork ribs, Arthur Ave-style kebabs, fresh-cut veggies, delicious grab-and-go salads, chilled rosé wine, and ice-cold craft brews right next door. Walter Stewart's, your fresh local market.
That I wasn't blind for
229
an
Elm
hour.
Street, New Canaan, and shop online for groceries and wine delivered to your door at stewartsmarket.com.
Now you can keep up with what's happening in Darien with the convenience of the Darien Times Online. Your choice. Print or digital subscription for just $45 a year. Or get the print and digital bundle for just $10 more, $55 a year. To subscribe to the Darien Times, go to hersamsecure.com/CIRC or call the circulation department at 203-894-3388. The Darien Times, now in print and online. Don't miss a single issue. Subscribe today.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com.
All right, we're back with you on Nutmeg Sports and ready to say goodbye. Just about 3 o'clock straight up. In fact, thanks to both Mario and Eric Gendron for running the controls on the other side today. Fun show, and believe me, we kind of, I thought it was going a different route, was hoping for Dave, and I know Dave was in a spot today where he wasn't going to be able to necessarily chime in, but we were hoping to have him on, but we'll get him on another time. But Tim Gaffney was great, so my thanks to him, and, we made it work. So we are back with you now. A few notes for you. Tomorrow, coffee break, along with Stir Crazy, and then Yankee Fisherman. So that's 11, 12, and 1 tomorrow. Friday, big day around these parts, though we will not be here. We will be a couple of miles right down Route 8. As Route 8 and 25 come together, we'll shoot right off there and go to Beardsley Zoo all day. We will be there beginning with the drive with Denise DiGregoli at 10 o'clock, followed by coffee break at 11. Then instead of Behind the News, you're going to get a very special edition of Yankee Fisherman. That is at noon on Friday. Then at 1 o'clock, it looks like I'm going to jump in and help Steve Coulter with Radio Arts and Leisure, and then we'll say goodbye after that. Sally Sanders will take Friday off, so it looks like I'm going to jump into Sally's seat for a few minutes on Friday as well. Point is, come on out and say hello. We'll be out there having a good time all day. It's supposed to be a beautiful day. Temperatures in the 70s, high 70s, in fact. And so long as they don't bring any snakes around, I'll be there all day. I can promise you that. So that is going to do it for Nutmeg Sports for today. My thanks to Timothy Gaffney from Litchfield County Sports. For Eric Gendron, Mario Recupito, I'm Rob Adams. Thanks for watching and listening. Back with you tomorrow. Coffee break, 11 o'clock. But for now, so long, everyone.
Yabba dabba dabba, yabba dabba dabba, yabba dabba 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 doo. Yabba dabba 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 doo.
Hersam, Acorn, and HANradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.